Have you ever felt like people around you are masks? That friend who smiles but secretly resents your success? That colleague who seems supportive but undermines you behind closed doors? The truth is, understanding human nature isn't just helpful, it's essential for survival in today's world. Most of us go through life reacting to what people say, never questioning what they truly mean. We trust the wrong people, miss golden opportunities, and repeat the same mistakes. But what if you could decode human behavior? What if you could see through the facade and understand the real motives driving people's actions? Today, we're diving deep into Robert Greene's masterpiece, The Laws of Human Nature. This isn't just another self-help book, it's a manual for understanding the invisible forces that control human behavior, including your own. Before we begin, think about this: who in your life do you find most difficult to understand? Keep that person in mind as we explore these laws. And if you're ready to truly understand what makes people tick, hit that subscribe button, because we're about to unlock secrets that will change how you see the world forever. Now we're going to discuss Law 1, master your emotions before they master you. Let me ask you something: when was the last time you made a decision based purely on logic? If you're honest with yourself, you'll realize that emotions drive most of our choices. We like to think we're rational beings, but the truth? We're emotional creatures who rationalize our decisions after we make them. Here's the uncomfortable reality: when something feels good, we believe it's true, even without evidence. When something bothers us, we reject it instantly, no matter how logical it might be. This is irrationality at its core, and it's costing you opportunities every single day. Robert Greene introduces us to Pericles, the Greek statesman. Picture this: Athens and Sparta are on the brink of war. The crowd is emotional, angry, ready to fight. But Pericles? He remains calm. He uses logic, not emotion. He advises patience and strategic thinking. And while he lived, Athens thrived. But the moment he died and emotional leaders took over, Athens fell into chaos and eventually collapsed. Think about your own life. How many times have you reacted in anger and regretted it later? How many opportunities did you miss because fear held you back? How many relationships did you damage because pride wouldn't let you apologize? Here's what you need to do. First, identify your emotional triggers. What makes you irrationally angry? Jealous? Fearful? Second, create distance between stimulus and response. When something triggers you, pause. Count to 10. Breathe. Third, develop what Greene calls rational awareness, the ability to observe your emotions without being controlled by them. The person who controls their emotions controls their destiny. The question is, are you controlling your emotions, or are they controlling you? Now we're going to discuss Law 2, see beyond the mask people wear. Here's a truth that might make you uncomfortable: almost everyone you meet is performing. They're playing a role, wearing a mask, projecting an image that often has little to do with who they really are. That ultra-confident colleague might be deeply insecure. That humble friend could be hiding arrogance. That always happy person might be struggling with depression. We all create personas to navigate the social world, but the danger comes when we take these masks at face value. Robert Greene teaches us to look beyond surface-level behavior. Why? Because if you only see what people want you to see, you'll be deceived repeatedly. You'll trust the wrong partners, hire the wrong people, and invest in the wrong relationships. So how do you see through the mask? First, watch body language more than words. Someone might say "I'm fine," but their clenched fists and tight jaw tell a different story. Second, be wary of people who try too hard to appear virtuous or honest. It's often overcompensation for the opposite. Third, observe patterns over time. The real character reveals itself in repeated behaviors, not one-time actions. Let me give you a real-world example. You're interviewing someone for a job. They present themselves as a team player. But ask about their previous workplace, and they subtly blame everyone else for problems. That's a pattern. That's the real person showing through the mask. Pay attention to these moments when the mask slips, when someone is stressed, when they think no one important is watching, when they talk about people who aren't present. These are windows into their true character. The ability to see people's true nature isn't about being cynical, it's about being realistic. It protects you from fake friends, manipulative colleagues, and dishonest partners. Can you think of someone in your life whose mask you need to see through? Now we're going to discuss Law 3, transform self-absorption into empathy. Be honest with me, how often do you truly listen to others versus waiting for your turn to speak? How many conversations are really just you thinking about what you'll say next? We all have narcissistic tendencies. It's human nature to be self-focused. But here's the problem: excessive self-absorption blinds us to opportunities, damages our relationships, and limits our influence. Greene explains that narcissism exists on a spectrum. On one end, you have people so absorbed in themselves that they can't see beyond their own needs. On the other end, you have empaths, people who can truly understand and feel what others experience. The magic happens when you move from the narcissistic end toward empathy. Let me share a practical example. Imagine you're in a meeting. A narcissistic person sees it as a stage to showcase their ideas. An empathetic person reads the room, understands what others need, and positions their ideas to serve the collective good. Who do you think gets promoted? Here's your action plan. First, stop making yourself the center of every story. When someone shares their problem, don't immediately jump in with, "Oh, that happened to me too." Second, practice active listening. Watch people's body language, tone, and what they're not saying. Third, before important conversations, ask yourself, what does this person need from me right now? When you shift your energy outward and genuinely understand others' perspectives, something remarkable happens. People trust you more, opportunities flow to you, and your influence multiplies. The question is, are you ready to step outside your own bubble? Now we're going to discuss Law 4, recognize character through patterns, not moments. We live in an age of first impressions and personal branding. Someone posts perfectly curated photos on social media, and we assume their life is perfect. Someone gives a great interview, and we think they're the ideal candidate. But here's what Robert Greene wants you to understand: character isn't revealed in moments, it's revealed in patterns. Think about this: how many times have you been charmed by someone initially, only to be disappointed later? That's because you judged the performance, not the pattern. Greene identifies 4 crucial signals to watch for. First, behavioral repetition. If someone repeatedly makes the same mistakes, that's not bad luck, that's their character. If your friend constantly cancels plans at the last minute, they don't value your time. If your partner repeatedly breaks promises, they lack integrity. Pattern is prophecy. Second, pay attention to small signs. How does someone treat a waiter? How do they react when they don't get their way? These small moments reveal more than grand gestures ever will. I once had a potential business partner who was charming to me but rude to my assistant. That small sign saved me from a disastrous partnership. Third, watch people during difficult times. Anyone can be pleasant when everything's going well. But how do they handle pressure? Failure? Criticism? This is when true character emerges. Do they blame others or take responsibility? Do they grow or make excuses? Fourth, look for consistency between words and actions. Talk is cheap. Someone who constantly says they'll change but never does. Believe their actions, not their words. Here's a powerful exercise. Think of 3 important people in your life. Now ask yourself, what patterns have you observed in their behavior over the past year? Are there red flags you've been ignoring? Are there green flags you haven't fully appreciated? The truth is, people show you who they are, you just have to pay attention. Are you watching? Now we're going to discuss Law 5. Your attitude shapes your reality more than your circumstances. Let me ask you something profound. What if your biggest obstacle isn't your circumstances, it's your attitude toward them? Robert Greene makes a bold claim: most of our problems originate not from external events, but from our internal interpretation of those events. 2 people face the same challenge. One sees disaster, the other sees opportunity. The challenge is identical. The outcomes? Completely different. Greene identifies two fundamental attitudes. The constrictive attitude sees every situation as threatening, every challenge as proof of inability, every setback as confirmation that things never work out for me. People with this attitude unconsciously create the very failures they fear. The expansive attitude views challenges as learning opportunities, setbacks as temporary feedback, and obstacles as puzzles to solve. These people don't have easier lives, they have more empowering interpretations of their lives. Here's the critical insight: your attitude can change, but only if you're willing to do the work. 3 steps. First, observe your internal dialogue. What story are you telling yourself about your situation? Is it empowering or limiting? Most people never even notice the narrative running in their heads. Second, consciously reframe negative thoughts. When you catch yourself thinking, "I can't do this," stop and ask, "What if I could? What would that look like?" When you think, "This always happens to me," challenge it. Does it really? What about the times it didn't? Third, reinforce the new narrative repeatedly. Your brain is like a muscle, it strengthens the patterns you use most. If you consistently practice expansive thinking, it becomes your default. Let me share a story. Someone I know lost their job during the pandemic. Constrictive attitude response: the economy is destroyed, I'm too old to learn new skills, I'll never find something good again. Expansive attitude response: this is forcing me to finally pursue that business idea I've been putting off. I have time now to learn new skills that will make me more valuable. Same situation. Completely different outcomes. One person is still unemployed and bitter. The other built a thriving business. Your attitude isn't just about feeling good, it's about what you see, what actions you take, and what results you create. So what would change in your life if you shifted from a constrictive to an expansive attitude right now? Now we're going to discuss Law 6, integrate your shadow self. This might be the most uncomfortable law in the entire book, but also the most liberating. So let me ask you directly, what parts of yourself do you hide from others? What thoughts do you have that you'd never admit out loud? What desires do you suppress because they're inappropriate? Robert Greene calls this your shadow, the parts of yourself you deny, repress, and push into the darkness. And here's the uncomfortable truth: whatever you suppress doesn't disappear. It just operates underground, sabotaging you in ways you don't even recognize. Everyone has a shadow. Maybe it's jealousy you won't admit. Maybe it's anger you swallow. Maybe it's ambition you feel ashamed of. Maybe it's insecurity you cover with arrogance. We learn early that certain emotions are bad, so we stuff them down and pretend they don't exist. But here's what happens: that suppressed anger suddenly explodes at your partner over something trivial. That denied jealousy makes you subtly undermine your successful friend. That hidden insecurity makes you overcompensate by dominating conversations. The shadow always finds a way out, usually at the worst possible time. Greene's solution isn't to act on every dark impulse, it's to acknowledge, understand, and integrate your shadow. When you accept these parts of yourself, they lose their destructive power. You can channel them constructively. Here's your 3-step integration process. First, observe yourself without judgment, especially when you overreact. If someone's success bothers you disproportionately, that's your shadow talking. If you inexplicably dislike someone, ask yourself what they represent that you've suppressed in yourself. Second, journal about these uncomfortable feelings. Write out your jealousy, your anger, your fears. Getting them on paper removes their toxic power. You'll often find that what seemed shameful is actually quite normal and manageable. Third, channel shadow energy productively. Feel competitive jealousy toward a colleague? Use that energy to elevate your own skills rather than diminish theirs. Feel angry about an injustice? Channel it into advocacy or change-making rather than destructive outbursts. Let me share something personal. I used to judge people who were highly ambitious as sellouts or fake. What I didn't realize was that I'd suppressed my own ambition because I was afraid of failure and rejection. Once I acknowledged that my judgment of others was really about my own fear, everything shifted. I could pursue my goals without self-sabotage. The most powerful people aren't those who pretend to have no darkness, they're those who've integrated their darkness into their wholeness. They know themselves completely, which means they control themselves completely. What part of yourself are you hiding? And what would happen if you brought it into the light? Now we're going to discuss Law 7, Guard Against Hidden Envy. Pop quiz. Who's more dangerous, someone who openly dislikes you or someone who smiles while secretly resenting you? If you answer the latter, you understand the law of envy. Robert Greene argues that envy is perhaps the most toxic and hidden emotion in human nature. People will almost never admit to being envious, but it's everywhere, corroding relationships, destroying careers, and creating enemies you don't even know you have. Here's why envy is so dangerous. Unlike anger, which is obvious, envy hides behind friendly faces. The envious person might compliment you to your face while undermining you behind your back. They might seem supportive while secretly hoping you fail. And the worst part? You often don't see it coming until the damage is done. Envy usually targets people who are close to the envious person in some way, colleagues in the same field, friends from the same background, siblings. Why? Because the success of someone similar makes the envious person's own position feel more painful. Let me paint a scenario. You and your colleague started at the same time. You get promoted. Instead of being happy for you, they start subtly criticizing your work in meetings, spreading doubts about whether you deserve the promotion, finding small ways to make your job harder. This is envy in action. So how do you protect yourself? First, never flaunt your success, especially around people who are struggling. This isn't about being fake, it's about being strategic. Share your wins with those who genuinely celebrate you, not those who might secretly resent you. Second, if you sense envy, don't confront it directly. That makes it worse. Instead, graciously deflect attention or credit. Make the envious person feel valued in their own right. Sometimes diffusing their insecurity neutralizes their envy. Third, create distance if necessary. If someone's envy is persistent and destructive, protect yourself by limiting their access to your life and work. But here's the flip side. What about your own envy? Because if you're honest, you've felt it too. That sick feeling when someone else gets what you wanted. That subtle pleasure when someone successful stumbles. The antidote to your own envy: first, acknowledge it without shame. Envy is human. Second, use it as information. What does your envy tell you about what you truly want? Third, redirect that energy into your own growth rather than others' diminishment. I'll be honest with you, I've felt envy when other creators with similar content blow up overnight while I grind away. But I learned to transform that feeling. Instead of wasting energy resenting them, I study what they're doing right and improve my own work. The energy is the same, the direction is completely different. Can you identify who in your circle might be envious of you? And can you acknowledge where you felt envious of others? Both recognitions are crucial for navigating this complex law. Now we're going to discuss Law 8, Find Your Life's Purpose or Drift Aimlessly. Let me ask you the most important question in this entire video: why do you do what you do? Not the surface answer like to pay bills or because I have to. I mean the deep answer. What purpose drives you? What meaning do you find in your work and life? Robert Greene argues that most people are sleepwalking through life. They go through motions, wake up, work, eat, sleep, repeat, without any clear sense of why. And this purposelessness creates a quiet desperation that leads to depression, distraction, and wasted potential. But when you discover your purpose, a mission that connects your talents, passions, and values, everything changes. Work becomes meaningful. Obstacles become manageable. You have a North Star that guides every decision. Greene is clear: purpose doesn't appear in a lightning bolt moment. It emerges from self-reflection, experimentation, and honest assessment of your experiences. You discover it by asking the right questions and paying attention to the answers. Here are the questions. What activities make you lose track of time? What did you love doing as a child before the world told you what you should do? What problems in the world upset you most? What would you do even if you weren't paid? Your purpose lives at the intersection of what you're good at, what you love doing, and what the world needs. When you find that intersection, you've found your calling. 3 steps to discovering purpose. First, review your past. Look for patterns in what excited you, what you naturally gravitated toward, what gave you energy. Your history contains clues. Second, experiment in the present. Try different things. Pay attention to what lights you up versus what drains you. Purpose reveals itself through action, not just thinking. Third, create a long-term vision and break it into short-term goals. Purpose without action is just fantasy. Start taking small steps today toward the life you envision. Let me share a story. A lawyer I know spent 15 years in a prestigious firm, making great money, completely miserable. Through deep reflection, she realized her purpose wasn't winning cases, it was advocating for vulnerable communities. She left corporate law, took a massive pay cut, and now runs a nonprofit providing legal aid. She works twice as hard for half the money and has never been happier. That's the power of purpose. Contrast that with someone who drifts, taking whatever job pays most, following whatever trend is popular, living for weekends and vacations because their weeks are meaningless. That's not living, that's existing. The truth is harsh: if you don't have a purpose, you'll become part of someone else's purpose. You'll spend your life building their dreams while yours fade away. So I'll ask again, what's your purpose? And if you don't know yet, what are you doing to discover it? Okay, now we're going to discuss Law 9, remember death to truly live. We've arrived at the final and perhaps most profound law. Let me ask you something that might be uncomfortable. When was the last time you seriously contemplated your own mortality? Most people avoid thinking about death. It's morbid, depressing, scary. But Robert Greene makes a radical argument: remembering that you will die is the key to really living. Here's why: when you forget about death, you procrastinate. You postpone important conversations, meaningful work, and authentic living. You tell yourself someday or when the time is right. You waste precious time on trivial pursuits and petty conflicts. But when you deeply internalize that your time is limited, that this could be your last year, month, or day, something shifts. Suddenly, trivial annoyances seem trivial. Suddenly, you want to express love while you can. Suddenly, that project you've been postponing becomes urgent. Suddenly, authenticity matters more than approval. Greene explains that people who accept death paradoxically become more alive. They take risks they've been avoiding. They have conversations they've been postponing. They pursue meaning instead of just comfort. They make every moment count because they know moments are finite. Let me share a powerful exercise. Imagine you received news that you have exactly 1 year to live. What would change? Who would you reach out to? What would you finally say? What would you immediately stop doing? What would you start? Now ask yourself, why are you waiting? You don't actually have unlimited time. You have a finite, unknown amount of time. Every day you postpone those important things, you're gambling that you'll have tomorrow. Maybe you will. Maybe you won't. I'm not suggesting you live recklessly or fearfully. I'm suggesting you live intentionally. That you prioritize what truly matters instead of what's merely urgent or comfortable. 3 practices for death awareness. First, regularly contemplate your mortality, not morbidly, but as a motivator. What would you regret not doing if you died this year? Then do those things. Second, eliminate regrets proactively. If there's something you need to say it now. If there's something you need to do, start today. Don't accumulate regrets. Third, design a life you'd be proud to look back on. At the end, you won't remember the meetings you attended or the emails you sent. You'll remember the love you shared, the impact you made, and whether you lived authentically. A personal reflection: I used to postpone difficult conversations because they made me uncomfortable. Then someone close to me died suddenly. I was left with things unsaid, regrets I couldn't resolve. That experience changed me. Now I operate with the assumption that I might not get another chance. It makes me braver, more honest, more present. The ultimate irony: we deny death to protect ourselves from fear and sadness. But that denial creates a different kind of suffering, the slow death of unlived potential, unexpressed love, and wasted time. Accepting death doesn't make you sad, it makes you alive. It makes every moment precious. It gives you the courage to be authentic because you realize pretending is a waste of your limited time. So here's my final question for you. What would you do differently if you truly accepted that your time is finite? And more importantly, what's stopping you from doing those things right now? Conclusion, your next move. We've explored 9 profound laws of human nature, from mastering emotions to accepting mortality. From seeing through masks to finding purpose. But here's the truth, knowledge without application is just entertainment. The real question is, what will you do with this understanding? Will you continue reacting blindly to people and circumstances? Or will you start seeing the deeper patterns that govern human behavior? Will you remain controlled by your emotions in shadow? Or will you develop the self-awareness to master yourself? Will you drift without purpose, following the crowd? Or will you discover your calling and live intentionally? These aren't just interesting ideas, they're practical tools that fundamentally change how you experience life when you actually apply them. I want to hear from you in the comments. Which law resonated most? What pattern did you recognize in yourself? What's one thing you're going to change starting today? And if you found value in this exploration, subscribe because we're building a community of people who want to truly understand how the world works, not just how we wish it worked. Remember, the laws of human nature are always operating, whether you understand them or not. The only choice is whether you'll be blind to them or use them to your advantage. Master these laws, and you master your life. Until next time, observe carefully, think deeply, and live intentionally.